Hey guys, so in this video I want to share 4 principles that can help you live a more content and fulfilling life. A lot of times we get caught up in the chase of things, needing to strive and achieve goals, and look for things outside of us that can give us that sense of fulfillment or contentment. And a lot of times we come up short. So these 4 principles are things that have really helped me in my own life have a more stable sense of inner peace and joy without needing to strive or accumulate more. Doesn't mean that I don't have goals or I don't try to push myself in those ways, but this is kind of the foundation, which again has really helped me in my life. So the first one is self-understanding. And self-understanding is kind of the basis for the rest of these things. What I mean by that is knowing yourself on a very deep level, beyond the labels and the conditioning and the idea of what you think you are. Because we all have this identity that we live by. And that identity governs how we act, what we think, how we relate to the world, and how we perceive ourselves. But in truth, you're so much more than that limited identity. It's like when you look at a tree and you give that tree the label tree, what you're getting is a remembering of all the associated images and feelings that you believe a tree to be. But the truth is that's not what a tree is. A tree is beyond labels. The same is true for you. You're beyond the labels of what you have thought yourself to be and what everyone told you are. So the key is coming back to that truth of what you are beyond the labels of what you think you are. So if you aren't the idea of what you think you are and all the labels that you live by and beliefs that you live by, what are you? You're that which watches all of those things, which is just pure awareness, consciousness itself. It can't be labeled or confined to a label or a name or anything that language can give it. So if you can return to that still point within yourself, which is just pure awareness, that which watches everything come and go, it is the only constant in life. Everything else changes. The seasons, your mind, the activity of your mind, your emotions. But if you can return to your awareness, you return to that which is unchanging, which brings me to my second principle, which is presence. To live in presence. Once you begin to have that foundational understanding of yourself, that which is just pure conscious awareness, you can then live in a dimension that is presence. A lot of times we see presence as the sights, the sounds, the things that we perceive outside of us. But true presence is that still point, that awareness that always is. And that is not separate from the flow and unfolding of life. So when you can be more present and aware, you begin to watch the activity of your mind and your emotions come and go. They don't control you anymore. And this will help you tremendously in terms of overcoming negative beliefs or fears or anything that disturbs your inner peace. Because usually what disturbs our peace isn't necessarily what happens outside of us. It's the way we relate to it. It's our thoughts about what happens. So if you can be more present, you can not identify or attach to what you are thinking within your own mind. Doesn't mean that you don't experience hardships or adversity, because in life, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And we create that suffering through the way in which we are thinking, feeling, and relating to what's going on outside of us. And through presence, you begin to remove yourself from the identification with your perception, with the labels and the conditioning of your mind. And you return back to yourself. The third principle is surrender. Through presence, you can begin to accept what is. And it's this acceptance that allows you to go with the flow rather than resist what happens in life. Because a lot of times our resistance is, again, what causes our suffering. Really pushing up against life, trying to control it, when we don't have control over everything that happens. Really, the only thing that we can control is our own inner state. And even that, sometimes you just have to let things come and go without, again, identifying or attaching to things. And so through surrender, you come to a place of inner peace, acceptance for what is, without trying to control it or change it. And also through surrender, you allow yourself to be led by something greater than your own conditioned mind, your own logical thinking mind. Because all your mind knows is what it has been told, what it has seen in the past, what other people have done, what you've learned through your own life. And it doesn't know what is beyond that. And so through surrender, you can open yourself up to a greater intelligence, that which is your intuition, that which is guiding you outside of your life in what happens. You begin to see life as this almost magical unfolding, that everything is working out for your own best interest. Even though it might not always feel good, it's always working out that way, and you can surrender to that without resisting it. The next principle is simplicity. Simplicity is super important, especially in this day and age, because we have become so used to cluttering our minds with social media, Netflix, you name it. There's just constant stimulation of our mind. And it's that constant stimulation which causes us to live compulsively from our mind, pulls us out of presence or our true self. Because when you're living from the mind and your conditioned thinking, your impulses, your emotions, you're not in tune with yourself and you're not being present. You're living on autopilot, almost unconsciously from these things. So by simplifying, whether it's your personal space or your mind, by just being still, you return to presence, you return to yourself. It says in the Bible somewhere something about starving the flesh and feeding the soul. Now, I've never read the Bible, but I'm pretty sure it says that somewhere in there. And I think what that means is returning to that stillness, to that presence, because that is your spirit or your soul. It's beyond your mind-body vessel. So by simplifying, by decluttering your mind, you return to yourself. But by overstimulating yourself, you get pulled away from yourself. By living from overindulgence or through compulsive living, you get pulled away from your true self and pulled away from presence. And again, by living from the mind, you start to get pulled around by your mind. You start to identify with your thoughts. So simplicity is very important for living a peaceful life. And the last principle is gratitude. Having a sincere appreciation for life itself and your own existence. You know, the fact that you or I are even in existence right now is astronomical. I watched a video one time, I think it was Neil Tyson deGrasse, and he talked about the astronomical odds that you or I have even been born. And so with these astronomical odds, we live this life and we expect to get so much out of it. More material wealth, more experiences, whatever it is, that we forget that just living life itself is the gift. When you can come back to that within yourself, you begin to have more gratitude for life for the unfolding of what is. Again, going back to that point of surrender, you begin to see that everything is working out for your own good, for the highest good in all circumstances. I know it's hard to believe sometimes. So if you can wake up each day and just say thank you for this existence, you get more things to be grateful for. Whereas if you look at life through the lens of I need more, a state of lack, scarcity, it's not enough, you see more of that in your external reality, because as within, so without. Your external world, your personal reality is just a reflection of what is going on within yourself. So if you want to have more things to be grateful for, be grateful for what you have and what your life is and your own existence right now. Have you ever heard the saying, if you can't manage $100, you probably can't manage $1 million? It's kind of the same thing. If you can't be grateful for what your life is right now, why would God or source or universe or whatever you want to call it give you something else and more things to be grateful for? If you're not even grateful for the life that you have right now, whatever it is, your health, your family, anything, it wouldn't give you more things to be grateful for. So if you want to have a more joyful way of life, be grateful. Practice that every day. Challenge yourself and start to think in that way, because the more that you can think in terms of gratitude, the more those neural networks are going to fire together and they're going to wire together. And you're just going to look at life through the lens of gratitude. And you're going to see more things to be grateful for. And then in turn, life will bring you more things to be grateful for. So these are the 4 principles. So these are the principles that I live by and have really helped me in my life kind of navigate it with a sense of inner peace and contentment and fulfillment. And I hope it does the same for you, because again, it's so easy to get caught up in the chase of things and feeling like you don't have enough or that you're not enough. But again, those are all just thoughts in your mind, labels and conditioning. So if you can return to yourself, be present, simplify your life, surrender to what is, and be grateful, you will have a very peaceful way of life, and life will really open up to you. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.